Hello and welcome to a Talmud Israeli production. Today we'll review the highlights of this week's course of Daf Yomi study, Masechet Gittin, pages 75 through 81, Ayin Hey through Pei Aleph. 75. Harei zegitech, amanat sheteshamshi et Abba, amanat shetaniki et beni. If a man says to his wife, "Behold, this is your divorce document, your get, on condition that you serve my father, or that you nurse my son," well, Tama himini kato. How long does she have to do this for? Shtei shanim, 2 years. Rabbi Yehuda merishtim mashmonasar chodesh. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, only 18 months, a year and a half is enough. Meta ben o shemeta av. What happens if the son died, or the father whom she was supposed to serve died? So now she's no longer capable of fulfilling the agreement. Harei get, it's a valid get because it's not so much that she had to nurse the baby or serve the father, it's that she had to service their needs. But if those needs no longer exist because that person is dead, then it's irrelevant and the get is a valid get. Ayin Vav, 76. Harei zegitech, chol shevon kneged panayach shloshim yom. Behold, this is your get. In any situation where I go 30 days not passing by you, he could be passing by the house on a regular basis throughout those 30 days. But if he doesn't seclude himself with her, the get is valid. But wait a second, but he didn't disappear for 30 days. He was right nearby. So how could you say that he fulfilled the conditions of the get? And the Gemara answers, tashmish, that disappearing means not having relations, intimate relations. Lishna me'almanakat, and the Gemara chose to use a cleaner language. So the reference is not to disappearing and not being seen, it's not being intimate. Ayin Zayin, 77. Hazorek get l'ishto. A man throws a divorce document towards his wife. V'hi b'toch beita, or b'toch chatzeira. If she's in her own house, on her own property, or in her own courtyard, she's thereby divorced. However, if he throws it to her and she's on his property, in his house, in his courtyard, even if they're in the bed together, and they're not divorced. However, if he throws it into her lap, or her basket, she is divorced because that is really her possession. Even if it's on his property, it's enough of her personal space as to say that she got it. Ayin Chet, 78. If she was standing in the public domain, Uzerakola, and the husband threw a divorce document to her in the public domain. If it lands closer to her, she's divorced. If it lands closer to him, she's not divorced. So what happens if it's a tie? Well, then we're not really sure. Maybe she's a divorce, maybe she's not divorced. So we say a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Meaning, we have to be protective of halachic considerations in both directions, l'chumra in both directions. And the same thing is true regarding marriage. If you were to throw a marriage contract, a shtar erison, or for that matter, money, or item of value for kesef kiddushin in the public domain, and it landed midway between him and her, then we're not really sure they married. Maybe yes, maybe no. We have to treat it strictly in both directions. Ayin Tet, 79. Beit Shammai Omrim, Poter Adam et Ishto beget yashan. Beit Shammai says a man can divorce his wife with an old get. Well, Beit Hillel and Beit Hillel says, no, you cannot do that. But the question is, Ezu get yashan, what is an old get? Well, it means any get which was written first, and then subsequent to it being written but not yet being delivered, the man secluded himself with the woman. If he did that, then it looks like he's undermining the intentions of the get, which was to divorce her. So that's considered an old get. Amar Shmuel, in Nidgarsha, let's say a person went ahead and violated Beit Hillel's instructions of not using a get yashan to become divorced. So they went ahead and did it. Tinase lechatchila. The wife is allowed to remarry another man ab initio, meaning we don't require any rectification of what was done. So it may be wrong to use a get yashan to begin with, but if it was used, the consequences are she's divorced and she can move ahead in life without any hesitation. Hey, 80. So the Gemara talks about a kingdom which is an improper kingdom. And who is this? Malchut Romiin. Refers to the Roman Empire. Now, it's not surprising that the rabbis who were not fans of the Romans who destroyed the Second Temple and collapsed the Second Jewish Commonwealth would refer to them in disparaging tones. But specifically, what about the Romans makes it Eina Hogenet? Amai kala malchut she'eina hogenet. Why are they referred to by this particular name? So the answer is Mishum de'ein lahem lo ktav lo lashon. They don't have their own script and language, meaning that they borrowed their font, their alphabet, and their language from other nations. That it's a hodgepodge of borrowed material, not independently existing. Now, of course, you could say that about almost all languages, that we're borrowing from previously existing languages, but here the rabbis are looking to disparage the Romans and say Malchut Eina Hogenet. Hey Aleph, 81. Katav l'garesh et ishto. A man wrote a get, or authorized the writing of a get to divorce his wife. Vin nimlach. And then he had a change of heart. Changed his mind, doesn't want to do it. So he didn't deliver the get. The wife was not divorced. Beit Shammai omrim, haslamin hakuna. Beit Shammai says the wife of that man has been invalidated from ever marrying a Kohen. Why? A grusha, a divorcee, cannot marry a Kohen. This woman is not a grusha. However, because there's a hint of divorce, even if it wasn't actualized, we're going to hold it against this woman and say she cannot marry a Kohen. Under what conditions would it have all been possible? Well, if the husband dies and she becomes an almana, a widow can marry a Kohen, but because she'd be a widow with this this hint of a get hanging over her head, that's why she could not marry such a Kohen. But Beit Hill disagrees completely and says even if he gave her the get, but he gave it on condition, on some stipulation, velona satnai, and the condition or stipulation was not fulfilled, and therefore the get was invalid. Lo pasla mina kahuna, he still has not invalidated her from marrying a Kohen. So as far as Beit Hillel is concerned, if the get is not halachically valid, and if she never achieves the status of a divorcee, then she's still eligible to marry a Kohen, despite the fact that this get was either hanging over her head or it was given but it wasn't actualized. Whatever the consideration might be, if it didn't come to pass fully, she doesn't lose her status of eligibility to marry a Kohen. Everyone have a great week.